It's time for Ball Talk with Sanford and Johnny. From what's happening on the blue at Boise State to the Mountain West and beyond. The biggest storylines, the best guests, and most outlandish opinions from two dudes who eat, sleep, and breathe college football. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Ball Talk with Sanford and Johnny, featuring former Boise State quarterback and longtime coach Mike Sanford, and KTIK 95.3 FM The Ticket's Johnny Mallory on Bronco Nation News.
A whole lot of fun last Monday. It is game week, and that's for me and for I think a lot of us across the country. That's reason to celebrate. It's reason to raise your beverage of choice. Right now, for me, it's a Spindrift. Not quite as cool maybe as some others, but I'm excited. I'm excited to watch football finally on Saturday, and for me personally, I'm excited. It's game week for the Meade High School Mavericks. I get to coach a little Friday Night Lights for the first time in 18 years of coaching football. I get to be under the lights as we open up at Windsor High School. So it's going to be a really exciting weekend for my family. And we're going to watch a whole heck of a lot of football.
So this is the first week of your season coaching high school now too. You know, in Boise, they start so early. They were playing high school games last week. Actually, Davis Harson, Brian
Big
Harson.
Shout out to the Eagle High Mustangs, huh?
Yeah, all right.
Beating the defending state champ, Meridian. Are they the Warriors? Meridian.
Yeah. What are you covering? IHSAA sports?
You don't know where I'm always. I'm everywhere, man. I'm omnipresent, brother.
We love you in the Boise media already, Coach, and we're off to a great start. Comment below. We're going to get after it today, as we said, and we're going to start a new segment, Coach, our Circa Sports Pick Six. We're going to do this every week. You pick a three games. I'll pick 3 games. We'll combine for kind of a 6-pack of college football. Not necessarily gambling, but just talking about some of the point spreads. So I hope you did your homework, Coach, because I intend to win this battle. We're going to keep standings all week. So I hope you're ready, man. It's going to be very, very competitive, Coach.
This will be the very first time I've ever even spoken about lines and overs and unders because the NCAA, I've been able to for 25 years nearly. As a player, as a coach, you can't wager on anything that has an NCAA sanctioned championship. So this is going to be interesting.
Think about that. You haven't been able to make a bet. You haven't been able to make a bet since you were in high school. And even then, it was probably illegal because you weren't 18 yet. Look at the stuff we're learning on Ball Talk. This is fabulous, man. So yeah, week 0, we're ready for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys can type in the comments section. What's a spread that you really like this week? Comment below. We'll read some of those during our mailbag segment. Last week was just kind of a freestyle, kind of a free flow. We just kind of wanted to get comfortable together on this show. We just kind of had some stories we wanted to share. Today, Sanford, we're going to try to structure it a little bit more. We'll see how that goes. But all in all, it's going to be another terrific episode. I'm glad everybody's joining us. Tell your friends about this program. It's going to be can't miss action every single Monday night. There's going to be football going on, and then obviously chime on in with what we're doing here and pay attention to Ball Talk with Sanford and Johnny. I want to start you off tonight, Coach. Andy Avalos, they had a scrimmage. Obviously, no one can see it because coaches don't let anybody see scrimmages, and that's fine. But he did talk after the scrimmage about a simulated road game. Like, for example, they used the softball locker room for their locker room because they don't know what the Husky visiting locker room is going to look like. They used the stickle, which you remember sitting in the coach's box as the old Boise State OC. They used the meeting rooms in the stickle. I've traveled with teams a little bit in college football, so I know how it works when you go into the hotel and teams break off and all that stuff, but I've never experienced doing that in a simulation. So Coach Mike Sanford, maybe you guys did this as a player. Maybe it's an old Coach Pete thing. Maybe you did it as a head coach or as an assistant. What do you know? What do you say? Does it work? The simulated road game experience that Andy Avalos was doing with his team.
Well, first off, us coaches, and I'll consider myself in that category, we think of things to make us more anxious, to create even more anxiety. And I think it's a great decision by Andy, just to go and go through this. For some of these players have never really been meaningful contributors, or even maybe haven't traveled the Bronco way, right? The Boise State way. And I think that's common across the country. But what I loved, and I read the clippings and I saw it, as like, that's something I want to talk about on Monday night with Johnny, my guy. But I wanted to talk about it honestly, because I think it's really creative. I think across the country, everybody goes and does something away from home. When I was coaching with Harse in 2014, and I think it was a Boise State tradition that really was after I got done playing, is that we'd have our road game. We'd get in a bus and we drove yellow school buses, which was I thought that was a whole lot of fun. But we'd go over to East Junior High and play at Donna Larson Field or Stadium. And I think that's pretty much what we did with regards to simulating a game, but going to that next level, doing your meetings in a different environment, dressing in a different environment. I think it's really creative. I think it's any edge, any advantage that you can create. And even more than that, any anxiety that you can create in yourself, we're going to do, as coaches. That's just what we do. We're the problem.
School bus? You guys were on a school bus driving around Boise for 30 minutes and then getting off at Donna Larson Park or whatever and playing. And it worked. Like, you subscribed to it. You guys did did they do this at Notre Dame? I mean, you guys had an unlimited budget there, bro. Like, what's a simulated game week for Notre Dame? You guys actually hop on an airplane and probably go to the location a week in advance and walk around in that in that regard. But so you're a believer in this?
We didn't do it, but one thing that was a big belief of Coach Kelly's was doing 4 or 5 days of training camp in a road site. So getting on the buses, creating new meeting room environments. So you didn't just do it for maybe one day.
Yeah.
It was more that something that we did, and we kind of lived a road trip and did at Culver Military Academies in kind of north central Indiana. It was about a 2.5 hour bus ride. And it was good because for us, it got us uncomfortable, or got us comfortable in maybe an uncomfortable situation. And I think it paid dividends, not only, to create that bonding, but also to create that road kind of mentality of like, we're a pack of wolves loading a bus together, getting on a flight. And then we're going to have meetings, in a place that doesn't have all the, amenities that our own facilities do have. And you have to expect the unexpected. I saw, I think it was Perry Sorensen commented that's a great way to say it. Expect the unexpected on a road trip. It's going to happen. I've heard all kinds of stories about playing SEC schools and, the DFO thinks about this, the director of football operations in the SEC. They actually cut off all landlines in all the players' rooms because there's phone calls that are going all night to keep key players and star players awake. So
they would find out what room the quarterback's in, and then they would call the motel, the hotel, the Holiday Inn, and they would ring that phone off the hook, and the DFO make sure that – I love it, man. This is espionage, Coach Sanford. This is by all means necessary. We will win this football game. Now, a lot of it, people would say, no, that's just a coach being paranoid, which I want to talk to you about too, because you guys are. Coaches are paranoid. And it's like Crash Davis said in Bull Durham. If you're having success because you believe you're wearing women's underwear, then you are. Keep wearing the women's underwear, right? It's all relative in that regard. So for coaches, I would understand, like, if something works, we're going to stick to it. It's crazy to think, and that's why I think people are going to love Ball Talk, just the behind the scenes information that you're going to give me and obviously our viewers here, and really get people inside what's going on. And you've been in so many different types of places. Like, again, Notre Dame does things differently than Utah State or Western Kentucky, and everybody does what they feel works. It's their own culture, their own type of religion, right? Their own types of different paranoid activities or thoughts that these coaches have. Who was the most paranoid coach you ever worked for, and what made him so paranoid?
Man, I would say at Minnesota, just as in the whole of it all, I was thinking about even our road trips and the job of director of football operations. I think the temperature, and I could be off by a degree, but the temperature of every room of players and staff had to be set at 67 degrees. Wow. And so that's the type of stuff that the director of football operations, they actually go and travel to the sites. They go to the hotels and they get everything exactly as it's supposed to be. And, at Minnesota, it was literally down to the second, the degree, the types of sauces that we had for our chicken and pregame meal. That was on a different level. And, and then I've been a part of really high level programs where they want pregame meals to be, kind of loose, want them to be, like being at a family picnic, at a barbecue. Mm-hmm. And, I've been where it's the ultra healthiest meals of all time to, on the flip side, chicken tenders or fried chicken. And, because what are the players going to eat? You got to think about that. Are they going to eat a kale salad right before they eat? Or are they right before they go and play a game? They're probably going to try to fuel themselves with the stuff they like. So, I would say just overall, just information was very tight in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I love it. PJ Fleck. By the way, your video coordinator at Minnesota, Matt Childers.
Oh, legend.
Really good buddy of mine. He's a Vandal, as you probably know. Me and him had the same kind of department that we were in. I was really good friends with Childers. He's been the VC there for like a decade. He's making a pretty good living. He used to be Rob Akins.
Yeah, he was there with PJ Fleck before at Western Michigan, and been there the whole time. And he does an unbelievable job. And even the asks of him of what he has to do. He runs all the audio and video for PJ Fleck's team meetings, which are legendary in terms of you never know what's going to come. It could be about costumes and music videos with the coaches on. I mean, there was all kinds of production that Chili had to do in addition to just putting all the offense, defense, and special teams footage and film in the system on a daily basis. So major cats off to a great Vandal, Matt Childers, and I'm sure he's not listening because he's probably prepping some team.
He's working. Right. Yeah, I'll tell him you said hello, or you do the same whenever we talk to him next. Okay, the paranoid coaches, Coach Sanford. Like, for example, and this is fine. I'm not here to complain about it, but there's no open scrimmage to fans or the media. There's no asking about injured players, and this is not just a Boise State thing. This is what happens in the world of college football. There's no injury report. Bill Belichick wouldn't give people information if the league didn't mandate it, right? I mean, does it matter? Is it worth it when you did it? Were you like, oh yeah, we don't want anybody looking at our scrimmage. We might run this particular play or show that look. What is your thoughts, or what are your experiences like, when it's gosh, man, it's Fort Knox, dude.
I think for injuries, I do personally believe that some of that stuff is for the players' protection with HIPAA, and you don't want to put things out that could be detrimental not only for their their Saturday coming up, but also for their life. So I think I always did everything I could in the head coach role to protect the players. Okay. And then strategically and schematically, I think it's important not to give up your deficiencies because you might not have depth at a particular position. Say it's a defensive tackle and you only have two other defensive tackles on scholarship. If you have a player that's ailing that may not have even been seen in the game as ailing, but something happened in the game and, it swelled up and you get back to the injury report on Sunday. I always did my best to protect that information as a head coach. And most of the guys that I worked for, we thought about what's the best thing for our program and not the best thing for the bettors. Right. I mean, that's a huge piece of it. And I even had a couple friends and, kind of distant family members that would kind of reach out, hey, how are things going? And give
you can
text.
tell, huh?
Yeah, to give you the first text. And, hey, you guys looked pretty good last week. Yeah.
I think I've sent you a couple of those.
How's Mike? How's Mike Thomas? How's he feeling? I don't know what you're talking about. I'd answer every question, but I would not answer any injury questions. It didn't matter if it was a family member, didn't matter if it was a media member. I mean, our information has to be our information, and I think it just protects your team and it protects the players. But on the flip side of that, I enjoyed scrimmages where people came to, even in fall. I liked there to be the media present for aspects of practice. And the reason for that is I wanted our players getting accustomed to playing with scrutiny. I didn't want it to be this protected environment all the time. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's, 87,000 people at this game and every media member is here. And I wanted them to get used to playing in front of people because football is a game that is meant to be played in front of people. And so I think even training that way and practicing that way is important.
Chris Peterson had complete open practices. First year I got in Boise with sports radio coach was 2013. And you could be at practice for all 2-3 hours, man. You just stand around the sidelines. I remember Tom Moore, Kellen's dad. Kellen was no longer with the program, but Kirby was still playing there. And Tom Moore was on the sidelines at every practice. And I would even see, honestly, Chris Peterson, when he had a spare couple seconds, would walk over to Tom and almost sometimes ask him like, hey, are we doing everything okay? Like you see the work on that. Like Chris Peterson, I mean, that's how legendary Tom Moore was. And I know, know, Kellen's family and Kirby's family, obviously, and coaching and through that. But yeah, Pete would let everybody at practice. He didn't think it was a big deal. Pete knew that we're just a bunch of bumble turds in the media. We don't know what the hell you're trying to show us to in a lot of situations. But I totally get it when the coaches are like, no, we don't want to show you our stuff if you don't have to. You guys are recording everything. And there's restrictions. Me and BJ will be at practice tomorrow, and there's certain stuff you can't shoot or you can't share, but it does help us. I can go on Idaho Sports Talk every day and, throw little zingers here and there and at least help my broadcast a little bit. But yeah, you coaches, man, I don't know if there's a profession with more paranoia in it than FBS college football. You guys are maniacal. I love it. But holy smokes, man. I mean, everywhere you go, I think they do things a little differently. And I love talking to you guys about it, though. It's hilarious, man. Some of the tactics you guys have and probably some of the people, the spies you have walking around to make sure nobody's spying on you. I love it, man.
What's it like from a media perspective, me kind of being in this side for the first time? What's it like for you in terms of, I mean, you're covering these coaches, you're covering these teams, when does it affect your, how you cover the team? It might be, the positivity around it. We've always wondered that, I think, on the coaching side of things, of what, if you're more open to share information or at least open to kind of invite you in, will that alter coverage at all?
Gosh, it can go, it kind of depends on the coach. And it depends on the media member. I mean, a lot of media members are slime balls. They'll take information that they shouldn't share and they share it because ultimately it does further your career. If you're the one breaking the stories, if you're the one getting all the first hit on Twitter and the retweets, I mean, like Jeremiah Dickey says, everything counts, everything matters. But there has to be, in my opinion, a trust between members of the media and obviously the coaches and the administration. And and I've had success, BJ does a great job at this. If you can build business quality relationships with these people, then they maybe will give you a zinger here or there, or tell you something that typically they wouldn't say anything of the sort. So if they trust you, they like you, and we're working. I know fans out there, and it is a kick-ass job. So is coaching at Notre Dame. God damn it. We have badass jobs, dude, but it is work. And it is stressful, and it is performance related. If my ratings completely suck, and my sponsors and my advertisers leave me, I don't get to do this anymore. If you don't pick up the 3rd and 9 in the third quarter and keep that drive going and lose the game because of it, well, dude, you're going to be somewhere else next year if you're lucky, right? So It's performance. And sometimes I think the fans don't necessarily understand that. Like sometimes Bronco Nation will be like, you guys need to ask him that question. And it's like a mean-spirited question. You got to ask him that. Why did he do this? What the hell? And it's like, and if you were in this environment, you would understand that that's not how you're going to go about it in most cases. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it isn't. And I think the good media members, Coach, they know what's fair and what isn't. And same with the good coaches with the media. Some coaches, dude, are tough with the media. Brian Harsin, man, your boy, 2014. I don't know if I said this story last week. Did I? We do the Harse presser at the end of the game, and it's like, and then after the Harse presser, we'd find you in the corner of the Blameyer, and we're like, oh, BJ remembers this. The Sanford interview was way more informative than the Harsin interview at the end of the game.
Hopefully I wasn't stepping out of bounds on that,
I don't think you were at all. I don't think BJ would think that either. It was just, different perspectives on what's going on. So
there's a level of protecting, I think, the big picture, right? Like even if you're an offense coordinator, you're a quarterback coach, you're a tight end coach, you don't necessarily always think about, how it all fits together. And I do think that factors into maybe like Harse making that decision to be more tight-lipped about certain things, or to, to kind of give an answer that might not make a huge headline. And I think there is some wisdom in not giving that major blurb that's going to circulate, at least in a major way. So I think it goes both ways. I think everybody's just got to be themselves. I mean, that's the bottom line. As a coach, you got to be yourself. I mean, that was me being me. I probably, had on a minor league ball cap somewhere after I'd showered up, and I was like, that was a fun night, wasn't it? Man, yeah. Old Niner was spinning it pretty good.
I commend Harse on that. Like Andy doesn't make OCs available right after the game, but he does make them available on Monday, which is terrific. I don't know how you did this as a head coach, or how coaches, like, did Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, did he give the media access to coach offensive coordinator Mike Sanford when you were at Notre Dame?
Yeah, he did with me and Mike Denbrock. We both were in this together, and he did do that. And I've always been very appreciative of head coaches that gave assistants those platforms. I think it's really important, for growth. Yeah, there's a lot of coaches that spend 20 years plus without really ever having been interviewed, in a press conference setting. There's obviously the one-offs where you get, interviewed about your position group, and there's a piece that runs in, August 12th or something like that about the tight ends. But for you to have the opportunity to verbalize yourself, to communicate, verbalize what you need to communicate, I think is a tremendous growth opportunity. And like for me, that was the first time I'd had it, was at Boise State with Harse. So I was really appreciative of Harse for giving that opportunity.
Yeah, no, that was a terrific situation, I thought, as well. And a lot of media members, I mean, we just want to learn as much about football as we can from experts like you. And yeah, you're an expert with football. Where you've been and, your resume, I mean, I think you qualify as expert status. And we just want to be able to know the most. We get as much information as we can, so we can spread that to, whether it's online on BNN or KTIK or KTVB or whatever outlet it is. The more we know, the better our broadcast can be. So yeah, it's a weird relationship. sometimes it's kind of like I love the relationship between coaches and officials. Like before the game, Western Kentucky, Coach Mike Sanford, he's playing middle. It's a big game, Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee State. You're meeting all the officials. You make damn sure you know every one of their first names. Hey, Mike. Hey, Randy. Hey, didn't you have a grandkid? Oh, yeah. Oh, she goes to what school? Oh, cool. All right. And then during the game, you'll say, Randy, God damn it, that was the worst call I have ever seen in my coaching life. Randy, Dale, inexcusable. Like the relationship, you guys will be buddy, and then with the drop of a hat, you're all over him, or they're maybe all over you. Not as bad though. I love that relationship, and sometimes the media and coaches are like that too. There's a lot of times.
Did you have a hidden camera on me? Because I think that exact scenario played out at Western Kentucky. Hey, Randy, how are the kids doing? Is your son having a good Little League season? What's he batting? And then, of course, and Randy or whatever, Randy or George or Fred, he gave me a ton of grace during the game as I'm halfway out onto the field arguing a call. And by the third or fourth time, I got myself a couple personal fouls. I think
did you really?
I got a personal foul every year that I was a head coach, including at CU. And
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a beauty also in all of that. And I know we're pivoting a little bit, but I think there is a beauty in it, in the Major League Baseball model of the manager almost having the planned, come out of the dugout, turn around the hat, get in the ump's face, and get ejected. And it always plays out because the players want to know that you're sticking up for them. Right. And I think that there's a beauty to that side of Major League Baseball, and I'm a huge fan of baseball. So I always thought that there was an element to fighting for your players, not fight for yourself, not fight for your ego, fight for your players. And they realize that, hey man, this guy's he's going to war for us. Let's go to war for him. And I think that's something that I learned over the years.
I love it. Ball talk. We're going to give a shout out to Taco Bell right now. Make a run for the border. 2:30 in the morning, Taco Bell. I'll take a cheese quesadilla, 2 supreme beef gorditas. Let me get 2 supreme steak chalupas, a bean burrito, extra cheese, minus the onions. And yeah, I'll have my $40 when I get up to the window. That's my order for you right there. Some Taco Bell. Shout out to you guys. And they give away like what? $300,000 to NCAA student athletes. I love you, Taco Bell. I've ate you way more than I should, but yeah, I love you, Taco Bell. Good stuff there. And Lithia Ford, BJ Rains is driving such a choice rig. Even Coach Mike Sanford would be like, "Ooh, BJ, nice rig." That's Lithia Ford. They help Boise State student athletes as well. What do you drive, Coach Sanford? And if it's not a Ford, I guess you just make it up and tell me you drive a Ford.
It's a Ford Bronco Sport. I think it's the greatest vehicle I've ever owned, and I've owned some pretty awesome. Well, I haven't owned many, to be honest. They've all been dealer cars from the university.
You've never bought a car for yourself.
It was the first car that I bought, and that bad boy handles in the weather. I took that thing up I-70 to go shred the gnar up at Name the Mountain, and the thing handles in whatever condition, and about almost 30 miles a gallon on that bad boy. It's a heck of a ride.
I love it. I don't know if you saw the news. And people, if you don't know this, Mike Sanford's dad, Mike Sanford, played at USC during the John McKay era, where they were the most fabulous program, really outside of what Paul Bear Bryant was doing. And John McKay even kicked Bear Bryant's ass in Birmingham. There's a great documentary on it. I'm sure you know that story, Coach, but you've been close with the USC football family your whole life. Your dad was one of the best wide receivers coaches they've ever had. Curtis Conway, Keyshawn Johnson, just to name a couple. In the news today, you guys jacked the athletic director from the University of Washington, Jen Cohen, who's done a fabulous job and was instrumental, Boise State fan, in getting Chris Peterson to Seattle. Jen Cohen was. She says it's her dream job. They say that a lot in your business, Coach, but your thoughts. SC takes Washington's AD. Washington has an opening. People in Boise, rightfully so, I think, they're a little worried right here. How and where, what is Jeremiah Dickey going to become a candidate in Seattle? What you see? What's the news? What are your thoughts on all this stuff, dude?
First off, I think Jen Cohen might be one of the best athletic directors in the country. Just watching what she's done at University of Washington, the hires that she's made. I thought that this last cycle 2 years ago, I mean, the hire that she made at Washington for football is in Kalen DeBoer is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I think he's one of the real ball coach. And I think she's supportive. She's a great advocate. She's a fundraiser. SC hit a home run. And they got to hit a home run in Seattle. And, like it or not, there's a lot of positivity in the national, in the people that matter in these types of decisions, and a lot of positivity about Jeremiah Dickey and what he's doing at Boise State. Just another record year of fundraising. I think, it's interesting looking at the fundraising number. CU here in Boulder just had their fundraising record year this past year. I think it was 28 million. And I thought that was a pretty big number. And then I see Boise State playing Group of 5 football, raising 26.5 million, which is, I mean, that's right on brand. So I think that Jared, whoever, if Jeremiah Dickey is going to at some point move on, somebody's going to get one heck of an athletic director, somebody who can raise money at a premium level, can build relationships, supports the student athletes, supports the coaches. I think he's a rock star. I haven't even met him yet, and I'm just been so impressed as an alum in how he's gone about his business.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, people forget, he's coached all these places. No, you're an alum. You went to school there for 5 years. I mean, it's not like you're canceling your subscription to the alumni newsletter just because you're coaching in South Bend, right? I mean, you are still a Bronco, and I think that's what people love about you. Quick take. I have always said on the air, the two most important factors for an athletic director is 1, raise money, 2, hire the right football coach. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that. And I think the best that I've been around, I think I mentioned him a week ago, is Bob Bowlesby at Stanford.
Yeah.
And incredible fundraiser. And he hired Jim Harbaugh, from University of San Diego, non-scholarship FCS football. You want to talk about one of the great hires in the history of college football.
Right.
Stanford was a 1-11 team. Obviously Harbaugh ends up coming in, brought in David Shaw as his offensive coordinator, hired guys like Vic Fangio as his defensive coordinator.
Lance Anderson, who's
Lance Anderson, who's one of the best recruiters and defensive minds that I've been around. I think that the athletic director position really matters. It really matters. And then the other thing is on the coach's side, I'd say a very close third most important trait would be the support. You need support. You need a good relationship with your athletic director that you can be honest, you can be candid. You're not always kind of in I'm in my foxhole and the athletic director, he or she's in her foxhole. Or I think it's important to have a really, really tight knit relationship between the athletic director and the head football coach and head basketball coach, and certainly all the sports.
How do you, off topic, but how do you, because I do this with my profession in radio, if I would have stayed here, maybe I would have got this job. If I would have taken this job, maybe I would have been happier in this job. And you play these games with you, do you ever play the game? If I stayed at Notre Dame, I'm the head coach at Notre Dame right now. If Brian Kelly took off to Baton Rouge like he did, and the Sandman wants to stay in South Bend because you went to high school there, South Bend, people don't know that either. That's like as close to home as a coach's kid, who moved 77 times as a kid, has ever experienced. You grew up, you had Rudy stuck in your VHS machine constantly. You didn't care because all you had to do was press play. Give me Rudy. Give me Rudy. Do you ever think about that? If you never took the Western Kentucky gig, you're the head coach at Notre Dame right now. Do coaches think like that too? Like broadcasters? I think
a lot of coaches do. We're humans, right? And what I would say is that I don't. I've never been that way. I think it's probably because a product of how I was raised. I've always been bloom where you're planted. Wherever your 2 feet are, that's where you are, and you're there for a reason. But I will say that my wife, she was very upset that we left South Bend, Indiana, which is crazy for a Bay Area, Northern California type gal. We just had the best neighborhood. We had awesome people. We had the best next door neighbors. And we loved where we lived. We loved the community. And, I think the thing that does happen, and it factored into my decision of taking that job, is there's only 128 of them, or however many. It feels like they keep adding schools. So the numbers
133 now, I think, Coach.
133. I think the number was 128 when I had to say it at my press conference, but there's only 128 head coaching opportunities. You never know when you're going to have another one.
Yeah.
The year before at Notre Dame, I had opportunities with my relationship with Coyle. He and I were talking about Syracuse after my first year at Notre Dame, and had some conversations about going to Toledo when that job came open. So I just thought it was a place that I had familiarity with in Bowling Green, Kentucky, at Western Kentucky University. And but all that's part of my journey. All that's part of the reason that I'm here. All that's part of the reason that I have had the experiences that I've had. And I want to continue to give those experiences and that knowledge to other people. This is a great platform to do that. And it's also in the coaching industry, taking people under my wing even now. I got a former Utah State player up the road in Greeley, Colorado, coaching at University of Northern Colorado. And my wife's like, today, she said, let's have him over for dinner. I'm like, it's a great idea. I want to continue to use the lessons that I've learned, both good and bad, and help people with those. And I think that's the most important thing, is that you use what you've been through to somebody else's betterment.
What's on the menu? What does Anne Marie cook that you could serve in a restaurant?
Oh, she's fantastic. So she's the daughter of a test chef at Sunset Magazine in the Bay Area. So her mom is lights out. She's got some really exquisite dishes that would be at a 5-star restaurant. However,
I love it.
Her baked spaghetti is on a different level. Every time we've had players over to her house, her baked spaghetti everybody wants to come back, not next month. They want to come back tomorrow. And that's the kind of dish.
A lot of people are doing that now, Coach. Yeah, I love it.
And she's got the Italian blood. So she always makes like 10 times more than is needed. So all the players go home with, a full vat of baked spaghetti. And they all say, like, 4 or 5 days later, they're like, man, I just had it last night. It's still good, man. And my wife is so gifted in the way she cooks, but also the way her hospitality. She's got a real gift of it.
One more off-topic thing, and then I want to talk LED lights. They're here at Albertson Stadium. I want to know if you have any experience with those. I can't wait. I'm in the stickle as a media member watching these games. I want to see what that view is going to be like. But for the listeners too, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. So your dad and Urban Meyer were coaches together at Notre Dame, and I believe that's where they first met together. Yes, okay.
They did.
So then Urban Meyer, he gets the Bowling Green gig. Eventually he gets the Utah job. Okay. This is Mountain West Utah. He hires your dad to be the offensive coordinator. And all of a sudden football looked different. Alex Smith was in shotgun every single play. They're doing this read option thing and nobody can stop it. And your dad and Urban Meyer just took over offensive college football. I've talked to coaches, and every coach in the country was trying to go to your practices in Salt Lake to figure out what Sanford and Urban Meyer are running. Your dad did so well. He gets the UNLV head coaching job out of it. Obviously, we know what happened with Urban Meyer. He gets the Florida job out of it. And I don't know if people understand. That was right at that time, 03, 04, when
those 2 years
was transitioning into that style. And now, the whole country runs it. Every high school team runs it. Junior league is running this stuff. Like, I don't know, man. I think your dad deserves a hell of a lot more credit in coaching than maybe he gets. If you look at his career record, UNLV, no one's been able to win there, not even John Robinson. I've always thought it was a sleeping giant, but your dad would probably tell me to go screw myself if I said that to his face. But they were at the forefront. You got to be damn proud of that situation. Imagine if they stayed at Utah, they probably would have contended for a national title.
Johnny, it's interesting. So those years were special years for our family, for me. So 2003 and 2004 were his 2 years at University of Utah. So I was just excited. I got mom and dad 4.5 hours down the road from Boise because I was finishing up my college career. So 03 and 04, 2 incredibly dynamic years for the Broncos on the blue. 2004, we were finished the season as an undefeated team, but this other team in Salt Lake with this jerk running the offense named Mike Sanford, they were undefeated as well, and they got the Fiesta Bowl bid that year. I don't know if you remember that. We went to the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. It was great. Got to see Graceland. Had some unbelievable dry rub ribs, but it wasn't the Fiesta Bowl. We weren't throwing Tostitos chips in the air after our last game. But my dad he's truly been, I think, a conduit of change in the game of football schematically. But even more than that, I think it's just been the way that he's gone about the kind of man he is, how he's led. He's made all the decisions that since I've been alive. I've watched him make really hard decisions as a head coach, as a coordinator, career decisions, and he's always done them for the right reasons. And so I think my parents are listening in Las Vegas. He started his season out at Faith Lutheran High School, still coaching ball at 68 years old. And they won on a walk-off field goal in game 1 of Friday Night Lights in the 2023 season against Palo Verde High School. So big shout out to my dad and just the man he is, and just what he modeled to me. And I think there's been times in my career where you can either, make the easier wrong decision or the harder right. And my dad's somebody who taught me to make the harder right decision.
Did you ever, if there was a transfer portal then and this and that, or maybe you had these discussions, did you ever consider, because you wanted to play, of course you did, but you were on staff, with Chris Peterson coaching and Dan Hawkins. You were gonna be a football coach when they told you couldn't play anymore. Did you consider transferring to Utah to be coached by your dad and Urban Meyer?
It was a pretty good quarterback room, man. Alex Smith, they had Brian Johnson and waiting in the wings. Yeah. I thought, I was pretty content. Me and old Zabransky competing against each other.
That's a hell of a battle, man.
It was, man. And I didn't think about it. In fact, there was a time, and this might be a little bit real insider ball talk, but there was a time my senior year where I think it was going into my senior year where Hawk was already starting to be talked about at other schools. And there were some feelers put out a little bit. I don't know by who, but there were some feelers put out for a Mike Sanford senior to Boise State type gig. And I'll be honest, I was like, dude, take the job, but I'm going to transfer. And not because I didn't want to be coached by my dad, because I did. Obviously, I went to go GA for him, but I always wanted to do what I did based off my own merits, not by if I did win the starting job, I didn't want there to be a caveat next to it or an asterisk next to it. And that's just how I've always been.
That's how you are.
So it was a weird conversation. Dad, you should take this job. But when you do, I'm transferring. So
I forgot you GA'd in Vegas.
Yes.
Would you recommend to GAs? You probably don't spend a lot of time partying and doing Vegas. You're in some closet somewhere, but what was living in Las Vegas GAing at UNLV like quickly? And then we'll get into some important stuff.
It was awesome, man. Great staff. I loved living there. It's changed so much in 20 years since I GA'd there. It's kind of turned into just a fantastic place to live. My parents live up in Summerlin. It's as good as it gets. The one thing I will say is I'd never really gone to casinos. I'd never played, many, blackjack and that kind of deal. And so, the GA stipend isn't exactly the fattest check that you can get on the market. So I was newly married. I was jumped right into being a GA a week later. And I think the first night that we got off during training camp, my wife and I went and played some blackjack. And I think we lost like half of my paycheck, which isn't saying much. It's probably for you, Johnny, it'd be just a normal day at the office. But for me, that was all we had. Yeah, I'll come clean. I had to ask Pops for a little money. And needless to say, the way he reacted to me, we stuck to bingo from then on. We played, we played $10 bingo from then on anytime we had a chance in Vegas.
Dude, shout out to your wife, Anne Marie, for actually marrying a GA. Oh, God, brutal, man. Geez, you're never home. You don't make any money. Like, maybe there was a kid on the way. She's the champion.
She is the champ. She's the champ. She has a belt in 2 classes. And in fact, she was a pastor's daughter, and she grew up in the same exact household that her dad grew up in. So it was
That's cool.
Say that she went from living in a house that her dad was born in 1956 to moving 14 times in 18 years. So major tip of the Las Vegas Aviators cap for Minor League Monday to my wife.
AAA, man. Minor League Monday with Coach Sanford. We're going to get to our Circa Sports Pick 6. I'm picking 3 games. Coach is picking 3 games. And remember, if you're watching this from Colorado, if you download the Circa Sports app, Colorado is one of the states you can make any bet anytime. So for our Colorado viewers, download that Circa Sports app, and you guys are off and running, and you can make your bets there. I don't know if you're where you're gambling now, but if you love this show, support the companies that are supporting the show. We'd definitely appreciate that. LED lights, Coach. I'm up in the Stickle, just a few doors down for where you were at Boise State and the laboratory of offensive coordinating that you did. I'm kind of curious to see how this thing's going to work. It's like the wave of the future, it feels like, for college football, and I love it. They need to find other stuff going on in a stadium, especially at Albertson Stadium, in my opinion. One, you got to keep the fans there. As you know, I mean, the fans sometimes would leave at halftime and not come back. Student section is the worst of it, Coach, but you have some experience with these new LEDs. I don't know can you imagine like Bear Bryant, someone trying to sell Bear Bryant, hey, Coach, this is what we're going to do here. We're going to turn the lights off on the stadium, and we're going to put all these magic lights and stuff. Could you imagine some of these old school coaches shooting this down? And you got some experience with this, don't you, Sando?
Oh, I sure do. I felt like Bear Bryant myself in 2018. We went to go play at Middle Tennessee State. And of all places to have LED lights, MTSU had LED lights in 2018. So that's 5 years ago. Damn. And I'll never forget. So we're right before kickoff. It was salute to the troops night, armed forces night at MTSU. And I'll never forget, they had a full, there's a major base right down the road in western part of Tennessee. And they had troops coming out. They had sniper rifles. And then all of a sudden the LED lights started going. It felt like a Rambo scene from some of the great parts of Rambo. And I see these snipers, like they get me in their vision. Like I'm in the crosshairs of the snipers. Not they're not aiming at me, but they're kind of going around. They're stalking, they're looking around. And a couple times it crosses right in front of me. And I'm like, we're in trouble today, boys. And I really felt that way. And then, the first time I ever seen after a home team scores a touchdown, it's like a dang light show. You feel like you're at the Bellagio, but just with lights instead of fountains. And it was incredible. I'm excited for the fans in Bronco Stadium and Albertson Stadium, as it's now called, of course. And
well done.
I'm excited for everybody to have that same experience. Now, I think if there's an armed forces night, I think that's you get the greens, the blacks, the khakis just going around, and you feel like you are on the set of Rambo.
If you could pick the uniform, Boise State's going to run out of the tunnel in 2 weeks in Seattle. I know you were part of before the uniform boom. You guys were more traditionalist, but when you coached here, Coach, you saw how excited the kids got to pick what uniform they're going to wear, and you just know college football now. As crazy as it sounds, it's a recruiting tool. I mean, they can tell kids in Eugene. I've talked to kids where they said, yeah, when I got recruited to Oregon, the coach says, you play here for 5 years. You will never wear the same uniform twice. Never. And they thought it was bitching, man. They were like, I'll never wear the same uniform. Screw tradition. We don't care. I don't know who Dan Fouts was, nor do I care. I want to wear cool uniforms. Where are you on the uniform movement, and what uniforms Boise State should they run out in if you got to pick?
I love combinations of uniforms. I was at Western Kentucky. We added Nike. We were a Russell Athletic School, and
Russell Athletic. When did you get the gig? Like 96?
No, Russell Athletics headquarters are in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So we had a pretty good Russell deal, man.
Okay.
Pretty soft, nice mesh short game. I was on point that year.
Oh yeah.
But I personally am just a absolute fan of just what Boise State wants to do in this game, which is what Boise State's always done. And I think that the mentality going into this game 100% has to be, we're going down to take down a giant.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those giant slayer games were just in blue, white, blue, blue helmet, white jersey, blue bottoms. And I think it has to be more about the mentality of your team going into that stadium rather than winning this swag battle. Now, the next opportunity to go on the road, I'm going Stormtroopers. I'm wearing this beautiful helmet right here.
That's my favorite.
I mean, and I'm going white on white on white. And personally, I can't ever get enough of the blue on blue on blue on blue on blue. There's a lot of blue. And at home, I'm a bit of traditionalist there. I do like the chrome face mask. I'm not sure if they're around anymore, but I like the blue.
If you were head coach at BSU and you had to say, would you go all blue on the blue for basically every home game, 9 out of 10 home games?
I think I would.
You would, yeah.
There's such a stigma around it nationally, and I always, people ask me that question every time. Hey, what was it like playing on the blue field? Is that like an advantage? I said, no. I said, because guess what? When you're playing the game, you're not looking down at the game. You're looking at eye level at the people that you're defending, that you're covering, that you're trying to run a route on. So that whole stigma is ridiculous, but I love the psychological warfare of it.
God, I've never heard it put that way. Yeah, you're not looking down. Well, I see is blue. All I see is blue. You're looking ahead, man. I've never heard anybody put it that way. Plus, you guys had a pretty damn good record on the road too. That's what I say. Like, it's not one of these things where, like baseball, you split stat. Well, home and away. No, they were winning on the road as well. This is, again, Ball Talk, Sanford and Johnny. We're going to bring BJ Rains into the program right now, the founder, the creator of Bronco Nation News. And Sanford, he got us to do this show with him, and he's going to kind of navigate this Pick Six segment brought to you by Circa Sports. BJ, what's going on, man? How are we doing so far?
I'm doing great, guys. Awesome show. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Appreciate you guys for doing this. We're having a lot of fun. I am 3 feet from Johnny, but we're on opposite sides of the camera here. But you guys are doing an awesome job. Appreciate the show. And yes, in honor of me going to Las Vegas, I will be there in 2 days, by the way. We're going to be broadcasting BNN Live on Thursday and Friday, and I'll be watching these Week 0 games from in the swimming pool at Stadium Swim. We're excited about this. They're sponsoring the Pick Six here moving forward. So if anybody wants in, let us know. The Circa Survivor, the Circa Millions, it's $1,000 entry fee. It's their huge contest, $14 million in guaranteed prizes. Split it with a buddy. Heck, I'll split an entry with you. Let me know. I'm going down on Wednesday to sign you up. You got to sign up in Las Vegas, but you can play from anywhere. And they're a big sponsor of ours. So look forward to our shows on Thursday and Friday. We'll have the owner, Derek Stevens, doing a live interview with us. And yes, Johnny, as you said, Circa Sports is one of the Colorado is one of the 3 states where they have online gambling on the app. So not that we're encouraging gambling, but if you do choose to make some wagers, if you live in the Colorado and you're watching area, the state of Colorado, and you're watching this because of Mike Sanford, you can go on your phone where we currently have the odds we'll be using for the Pick Six, and that is legal gambling with Circa Sports. And Mike, I know you're hoping to make plans. We're going to hopefully see you for the Colorado State game, October 14th, I believe it is. We're going to be doing a event for fans that are watching from that area. We'll be doing an event the night before the game, hopefully, or maybe before the game that afternoon at a local sports bar there in Fort Collins with Circa Sports to sign some new people up for the app and things like that. So stay tuned for that. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, we appreciate Circa Sports. So yes, we're going to have you guys each pick 3 games. We are going to keep track of the standings. You can go over, under, you can go spread. And by request to do this, I am supposed to play the music here if I can find it. Give me 1 second.
Throw a little Sanford and Son. Let's light the mood a little bit
Looking forward to this.
I like these picks, guys. Coach, well done. If people are watching, people will keep watching this. Yeah, take this to the bank. Write this stuff down. Let Coach Sanford and myself make you a little bit of scratch this year. Let's do it.
Johnny, I'm going to help get the comments going on the final few minutes of the show here, since you're still kind of figuring out how to do this. If folks do want to say, you can make your prediction, Johnny or Sanford. Who do you think, if you had to follow their picks and tail them here this year, who do you think's winning you more money?
Yeah.
Johnny or Sanford? I think most people will probably go Sanford.
Yeah, but he's never made a bet in his life.
You're going football expertise versus gambling expertise. And I can tell that my man Johnny's wagered a few times in his life. I'm just going to throw that out there and see if it sticks.
Lingo.
Let's see here. We got Perry Sorensen with Genty on an over of 200 total all-purpose yards against the Huskies.
What do you think?
To that, I'd say stay tuned to next Monday. We're going to have the best preview show for that game.
Yes, no doubt about it. Let's see. Oregon State will beat USC by 30, or San Jose by 30, let alone USC. Kurt Blake likes San Jose and the points on that one. They said over-under for how many times Hank Bachmeier gets sacked in that game, Johnny.
I would say if the line was 1.5, I would take Hank to get sacked 2 times. We love Hank. Maybe he does hold on to the ball. It feels like a little too much, and Coach Sanford would have better insight on that. When quarterbacks do hold on to the ball often, it could be a lot of things, right, Coach? I mean, a million things.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different factors. I think he's going to have a fresh start in an offense that's going to be a good fit for him. I think he's going to have a successful year.
You guys were mentioning earlier about the blue on blue, and I know Rocky Long was a guy that didn't like the blue and all that back in the day. But Bronco Blameyer is asking, you were talking about Coach looking straight for the players. What about for the coaches? Was it be a disadvantage for opposing coaches looking down from the booth? I've also heard about the watching tape can be a challenge as well to get the numbers of the players. What do you make from the coach's perspective?
I think it's just everybody goes to the blue and takes L's. I think it's the bottom line. If you're going to take L's and then make excuses for it, you're not a real ball coach, in my opinion. So yes, there might be some challenges in finding numbers on tape, but there's also stadiums that you play where the end zone or sideline shot feels like it's 10 miles up there. So you can't see. Yep. And is somebody complaining about Clemson Stadium being too tall and you can't make out numbers? No. You gotta make do with what you got. I think it's a bunch of horse hooey, to be honest.
What's the worst stadium for the all 22 that you've experienced where you're like,
Well, when you study NFL film in the offseason, the Chicago Bears have the strangest side camera. I mean, you feel like it's like filmed by a parent in the second row of the stands. And I don't know why. It makes no sense. But that one jumps out to me, the Bears. If they ever did anything worth studying on the offensive side of the ball, I think I couldn't stomach it, man. I think I'd say, you know what? I just chalk it up to Justin Fields' athleticism. That's why.
No coaches need to study him, right? You're not going to put the Bears tape on.
Usually it was them. It was actually like studying the Eagles against the Bears or studying the Packers.
I remember. Are you nervous for Jordan Love in a couple of days next week?
Have you watched the preseason?
Yeah, he looks really good, Coach.
He's gonna be just fine.
All right.
I remember, Mike, I don't know if you remember this or not, 2014 at Nevada. One of the things I always love, by the way, is at halftime, the coach is trying to get down to the locker room and you're going through the stands and trying to get down there. But I remember at Nevada, we're coming back after halftime and I'm standing out there and the coaches are walking back and there's a huge Giants playoff game that night going on. And I think you guys are, I don't know if I should be outing you here or not, but
please do.
There was a fan in a Giants jersey in the concession stand line. And Mike Sanford may or may not have stopped to ask the score of the Giants playoff game his way back to the press box there after halftime. Did I get that story correct, Coach?
And that, BJ, is why I'm here right now.
That's why we love sports, man.
I love them all. I love all sports. And I think, my wife doesn't think I can multitask, but I think we hung about half 100, literally. We actually hung half 100 in that game. And I think I think it worked out okay for all involved.
One of the final comments we'll get to here. Shane wants to know, Coach, how much of a beat does a coach have going into game one on if his team will be able to compete or win or if they're going to get spanked. And he says, wondering how Andy's, honestly feeling going into this game against a top 10 team. So I know you say there's no scrimmages, there's no preseason games against somebody. You don't even get joint practices in college football. What's your take on the honesty of coaches going into the game one of the season?
I think every single one of them, including Kalen DeBoer at Washington, including Clark Lee having the Rainbow Warriors come to town in Vanderbilt, they're all just absolute balls of they're a mess. All of us are a mess before the first game. And frankly, we are the rest of the year, because at the end of the day, you're still relying on young people, 18 to 23-year-old people to go perform. There's a lot of things that are going on in their lives. You don't exactly know what may or may not be going on. And then there's certain bounces that you get early in games that I think can really impact a game. And my thing for Bronco Nation is I believe that we should go into this game in Seattle at Washington with the mindset that we're Boise State. We're coming to do what we always do, and that's upset a team that has major aspirations to play in the CFP Final Four. And I think that that's got to be our mentality. But the coaches, on the other hand, you're thinking about everything that could go wrong, and you're doing everything to try to prepare for those types of situations. So the bottom line to that question, which is a great one, is I know that all that staff and Coach Avalos in particular, you just don't know until you kick that ball and you see how things kind of play out.
And final comment for tonight, Coach. Perry wants to know, how do you prepare to play the number 10 team on the road in front of 70,000 fans? You mentioned, they try to get on a bus and go simulate it. I mean, the crowd noise at practice, but I mean, is there anything you can truly do for when they go into Husky Stadium here in 12 days?
I would go from a thing that I learned personally from working for Jim Harbaugh. It was the craziest thing. But on game day, if it was a nighttime game, an evening set, we would go bowling as a team on game day, just to try to loosen the team up, remind the players that we're kids that are going to go out there and have fun, have the mentality, have the confidence that we're not going to play tight. We're not going to play with the weight of Bronco Nation on our shoulders and feel that burden, but just go in there and cut it loose, have some fun with your teammates, and set the stage somehow, some way leading into that game. And I learned that from Jim Harbaugh back in the day. And it's something that I did at times to try to offset maybe the nerves that some of the players are feeling.
Well, I appreciate you guys allowing me to jump in here with the pick six in the comment section. We'll probably make this a weekly thing if you guys want to have me for a few minutes at the end of the show, but I'll turn it back over to you guys to finish up. But again, on behalf of all the viewers, the listeners, the BNN, the advertisers, appreciate you both agreeing to do this. It's going to be a fun year, and thanks to you both.
Yeah, the season hasn't even started. Appreciate you, BJ. I can't wait till we get into this thing. That pick six segment is going to be fantastic, Coach, especially if we're hot. Like if Mike Sanford is 9 out of 10 in these picks, which you won't be, but let's just play for kicks and giggles. People are going to need to drive over to Ontario, BJ, and maybe try to make a bet or something on this, or go to Vegas, even better, and just make these bets from Circa, right? That's going to be a lot of fun, Coach. We tried to keep it under an hour, but I think an hour and 15 minutes for us, it's pretty damn good.
I agree. I mean, once again, thanks to BJ Rains and for Bronco Nation News for allowing us to have this platform. I'm having a blast. I love talking ball. It's what I love to do. I have a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 13-year-old and a wife in the house, and I don't get to talk nearly as much ball as I used to. So this is a part of my week I really look forward to, Johnny and BJ. Thanks for allowing us to really get together across couple 1,000 miles or so to be able to talk some football. And I really look forward to next Monday. We'll have actual football to talk about, college football, and we'll have a chance to talk about the Broncos going up to play one of the best teams, in my opinion, in the country. But you know what? Screw it. Let's go up there and take down the Huskies.
Yeah, I love it, man. Next week. I wish it was tomorrow, but next week, we're going to go, wall to wall on that Boise State Washington game, Coach. Your stories, you faced this team last year. Michael Penix, 350 passing yards a game last year. Like, wow, these are video game numbers. It's going to be terrific. Shout out to ICCU Credit Union. They do a terrific job with Boise State. They'll do a Bronco Nation News. They'll do a terrific job with you. ICCU, big partner here at Bronco Nation News. So hit them up when you get a chance as well. The Blue and Orange store, we love you guys. We're still waiting for that Mike Sanford #2 throwback jersey. It will sell out on the rack, especially when people are watching Ball Talk with Sanford and Johnny. Coach, what's for you? Have you ate dinner yet?
Believe it or not, I fired up the green egg and made some elite steered at 650-degree New York strip steaks from a local rancher. It was as good as it gets.
You're a pretty good griller, huh? You propane natural